We're going to be playing with an airship card today. I kind of feel like we should have like one of the Mario airship themes going on in the background the whole time. But, you know, copyright. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And Thespian Gamer asked me to brew around Phoenix Fleet Airship. If you're interested in how exactly we got to this exact deck list, I did a 4-hour-long live stream, and this was the, I think, last deck that we built on this live stream, so I will go back to my normal queue order after this video. Phoenix Fleet Airship is kind of an interesting card. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrificed a permanent this turn, create a token that's a copy of this vehicle. And notably, it says any permanent, so fetch lands work for these purposes. As long as you control 8 or more permanents named Phoenix Fleet Airship, this vehicle is an artifact creature. So in theory, we could repeatedly sacrifice permanents over the course of a handful of turns and just make these into vehicles. Or rather, make them into creatures instead of vehicles. More realistically, I think Crew 1 4/4 Flyer is perfectly exciting here. So let's imagine that we just like play this off of a fetch land. And then we have 2 copies of it. The next turn we play an Orcish Bowmaster, which generates 2 bodies, and we attack for 8 in the air. That is totally reasonable. And it will be relatively common for us to just play this on turn 2. Shambling Ghast makes a treasure when it dies, so on turn 2 we could sacrifice it to a Phyrexian Tower, get 4 mana, immediately have 2 of these, and on turn 3 follow it up with something that can crew 1 or more of these airships and just get in there for 8. And this should close the game relatively easily. The other thing that this deck has going for it is an infinite combo with Warren Soultrader, that we can pay a life and sacrifice another creature to make a treasure token. Gravecrawler is a zombie, as is Warren Soultrader. So we can loop these 2 cards with Marionette Apprentice to kill our opponent. This does cost me 1 life, and this is not a drain. This is just an opponent loses 1 life, so there will be times where this doesn't work depending on what exactly the life totals are. We'll have the ability to find some of our combo pieces via Overlord of the Baelmerk or Barrogoyf as well. I don't think there's too much else to say about this deck, so let's go ahead and hop into a league here. This is hopefully a pretty cool design. I am hopeful for this brew. And if you like it and you need some cards for it, please consider getting them from my sponsor, toamagic.com. And when you do, use promo code ThrabenU to save yourself a little bit on the order. Or, you know, if you haven't gotten your Nick Fit cards yet, like, what are you doing? All right, let's battle. All right. I'm not sure if my opening hand does anything. I have 2 lands. One is an ETB tapped land, and one could be taken by a Thoughtseize. I'm not getting to 3 mana without something like a Phyrexian Tower to sacrifice these. I think I'm just going to mulligan that. This is the cost of playing multiple Phyrexian Towers in your deck, which are not only a legendary land, but also don't produce black. We're going to 5. Oh god. This is bad, folks. This is real bad. I am going to 4. Alright. This has some lands, a Thoughtseize, and an Overlord. Alright. That's as good as we're going to get. This is potentially the best hand of the ones we looked at, unfortunately. I'm going to get my ass beat by Terrio. I think it is just most important to identify what deck my opponent is on. Alright, I will take the Stoneforge. Like, it is looking like my opponent is just a Stoneblade deck. They are a Stoneblade deck with Tamiyo backed by Force of Will. I'm not just going to concede the game here, but I do think the game is over. Opponent can draw their card, and then maybe we get a ton of mill value here. I do not. We'll pick up a Stitcher's Supplier. I think conceptually one way out of this for me is to Stitcher Supplier into a couple copies of Gravecrawler and just like beat my opponent down. We'll see if the Tamiyo just transforms this turn, because land drop Ponder will just do it. Yep. So Tamiya will transform and immediately plus to 4, and I'm in bad shape. I think I am swinging for the Gravecrawler hit here, and I have missed, which means that I have used my mana highly, highly inefficiently. I just don't think that tapping out for Warren Soultrader and getting that Force of Willed or, answered for 1 mana is enough. Opponent ponders. Cameo at 6 already. And another land drop comes down. There's Phoenix Fleet Airship. No ability to sacrifice a permanent this turn. It feels like I do either one of these things, and it leads to a loss. I think I am going to throw down the airship. Opponent brainstorms in response. It's possible this doesn't even need to be countered. It does get countered. But it's possible that you could just address the creatures that would be crewing it, or, if you have Swords to Plowshares, you can potentially just swords that if I can't sacrifice a permanent immediately. Alright, there's also Thalia. Opponent could blink my Overlord for me. That would be pretty cash money of them. Alright, there is a Swords. I now realistically don't know how I win. I am at 17. Yeah, I can Bowmaster ping this to 7. I think I just let my opponent Tamiya ultimate and flash in Bowmasters in response and hope that that works. Seems unrealistic, but could happen. The counterspell breaks that up, as does a Swords to Plowshares. Alright. In Bowmasters we trust. King face? Yeah. We tried. That was not a bad game for a mulligan to 4. GG. I don't know that I'm really sideboarding much here. I have a couple of different spot removal spells that I can do, and probably will do. The issue is we're kind of an engine deck, so every piece that we take out makes us significantly worse at assembling the engine. I could just say it's pretty unlikely that I get an infinite combo going versus an exile-based removal deck, and go down Warren Soultraders, and just play a couple more Barrowgoyfs, and do something that looks like that. I also could play Disruptor Flute. Need a few games to get calibrated on the play patterns of this deck for how this is actually going to work. This doesn't seem like it is enough mana. We'll mulligan accordingly. Whereas this looks perfectly fine. We'll put back the Shambling Ghast since we don't have a Phyrexian Tower. And we are just trying to send a couple of Barrowgoyfs and hopefully make them bigger via Stitcher Supplier. If I find a Gravecrawler to play for the next turn, that would be kind of cool. Did not happen. Opponent has a land drop and is just passing the turn. Alright, I had to check something real quick. Everything is good, but I did lose a minute or 2 of clock there. In for 1. Now, I think I'm probably going to be playing a tapped Boggart Trawler as a land here. The exception is if I hit Gravecrawler there, which I did not. There is a Wasteland. That is a punish on choosing that land over just doing a basic. And Surveil land for another land, though. The chip damage that the Stitcher Suppliers are doing is not super relevant here. Like, these aren't even worth removing with a Swords to Plowshares or whatever. Let's Surveil. Jeez. Well, shit. The Barrowgoyf plan ain't working so fucking well. Opponent to 15. 8 more turns and they will die to Stitcher Suppliers. Another land drop. And a Stoneforge Mystic. Or a Meteor Sword. Presumably would just get pointed at one of my lands. Alright, you ain't doing shit. You got another Stifle? No. Undercity Sewers. Alright, Phyrexian Tower is kind of cool. That can go on top of Library. I can consider sacrificing Stitcher Suppliers looking for Gravecrawlers. I think I'm just currently turning these sideways, though. And I save this for if I find an airship. Alright, Barrowgoyf resolves. It's surely just going to eat a Swords to Plow. No, not immediately, at least. Ponder. Like, it's turn 5, and my opponent has only made 1 proactive play, the Stoneforge Mystic. So either their hand is very awkward, or they're flooding out, or they just have not felt threatened enough by my stuff to do anything with it yet. Cameo. Second Phyrexian Tower is not what I am looking for. go, my 6/7 Barrowgoyf. Am I actually going to connect with Barrowgoyf? No way, right? Absolutely no way. Yeah. Alright, opponent takes 1 and is down to 10. I will play Barrowgoyf's cousin, Barrowgoyf, and pass the turn. Cameo comes in to generate a clue. Cameo probably is going to now transform. No! Okay, I mean, casting Overlord is kind of cool this turn. So we run back the plan from last turn. I lose Barrowgoyf. Connect for 2 points of damage. Opponent is at 8. I will sacrifice a Stitcher's Supplier. No Gravecrawler. I have to Legend Rule Phyrexian Tower here. But then I can cast this as an actual creature. It has resolved miraculously. Bowmasters? Or do I just want something that has 3 power so that if this transforms, I have that angle? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Also a land in a pinch. Swords? Thalia comes down. Alright, Riddler is now involved. My opponent is blinking out my Overlord, which means that they're going to, like, stifle the trigger for it to return at end of turn. So we now have 2 triggers on the stack. The Warp from Thalia and... Sorry, the Blink from Thalia and the Warp from Quantum Riddler. Yeah, there is a Stifle on the one for my Overlord, unfortunately. And now, like, my life total is fine, but everything else about this situation kind of just sucks. Because I know that my opponent has Riddler coming. My attack does nothing. Opponent can just, like, keep accumulating Tamiyo card advantage, and it will presumably eventually beat me. Alright. Tamiyo is officially going to flip, and plus to 4. There's also a Cryptic Coat. So now my opponent has 2 different blockers here. I've got a Gravecrawler that I can keep recasting. I think with active Tamiyo and Thalia Cryptic Coat and Riddler coming, that we're just done here, unfortunately. Our deck did not really do anything in this match, which does not inspire confidence. Hopefully the other rounds go better. We did mulligan to 4 in the first one, though. GG. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Alright, I'm very unsure if I should keep a hand that looks like this. It has 2 lands, it has an Overlord as a cantrip and a Thoughtseize on turn 1, but I currently have nothing to do with this and can't do anything with these. I'm going to keep it. I think this is very, very close to a mulligan, though, if it isn't, in fact, a mulligan. We need to line up Phyrexian Tower, Airship, and a 1-drop at the same time to do the cracked things that this deck is capable of doing. Verdant Catacombs comes down. The Badlands. Oh, we're doing, like, Reanimator stuff? Are you going to Unmarked Grave me? Oh, they are Cabal Therapying, targeting themselves. I have ley lines, right? You have ley lines. Alright. I am probably dead to Shallow Grave on Wrath and Mikey here. My opponent is going to get to reveal cards from the top of their library until they hit a creature, and it is going to be attacking. That's an Archon of Cruelty. So I am taking... Is this Exile? This exiles, and what about this one? Oh, just tapped and attacking. So that lives there now. So I take 9 plus 7 and then die to the following Archon attack. And I have no outs to that. I'm not going to show my opponent any cards. We just got turn 1, unfortunately. GG. At a minimum, 4 ley lines are coming in. I can think about Cabal Therapy as well. I almost want to just board out my best creatures so that my opponent doesn't have good things to reanimate on my side of the table. Like, if I board out Barrowgoyf... No, I guess there's still Overlord, right? I guess there's still Overlord. Alright, I think I'm going to trim stuff. Like, trim 1, 2, 3, 4. And not cut any one thing. I don't know that I'm going to Cabal Therapy. it would be fine. I do just need to reduce my opponent's life total to 0 after sticking a ley line. This is fine. I have not seen any opening hands that have my combo sequence. It may just be that trying to line that up is unrealistic, and that entire package should not be in the deck. We'll gather more information over the course of a league. There's Leyline. I will Stitcher's Supplier. Actually, no, I will just Thoughtseize first. Stitcher's Supplier could help my opponent. All right, Meltdown, I don't have any artifacts. Wall Therapy, I don't really care about right now. And my Stitcher Suppliers are awkward here. Maybe I should have just boarded those out completely rather than trim other stuff. I'm just going to take the Cabal Therapy so they don't randomly hit my Barrowgoyf and reanimate it. Like, the Cabal Therapy probably does nothing, but the time that it does something is devastating. All right, there's Sewers and keeping a card on top. Go land drop and pass the turn with the intention of probably doing Orcish Bowmaster's stuff. The Barrowgoyf is now weird because I know that my opponent has reanimation stuff. So that if I hit with the Barrowgoyf, I could turn on the reanimates and animate deads. So life's awkward, basically, is what I'm getting at. Bowmaster, your face. 19. A bunch of my creatures are just incredibly awkward here now. Do I play this and give my opponent the possibility of turning on these cards? Like, this is an incredibly powerful card. Ugh. I think I don't. Let's make a servo. And I think I will surveil over play out one of these creatures. That's a Verdant Catacombs and not the Polluted Delta that we already knew about. Surveil land. Phyrexian Tower. I think I say no to that. I just want more shitty creatures that I can turn sideways and attack for 1. Alright, and for some damage, I am going to play out this creature, but I legitimately might not attack with it. And I'm going to leave up Phyrexian Tower as a way to potentially burn my opponent if they use a fair removal spell on one of my things. I guess that would probably die in this matchup anyway. But I don't want to play out Stitcher's Supplier. Alright. We won. GG. But, like, Stitcher Supplier, Goyf, and Overlord all just feel bad. I'm going to fully board out Stitcher Supplier. There's a Bowmaster. There's a thing that isn't self-mill. Do I want Cabal Therapies? Cabal Therapies are worse if I'm getting rid of Stitcher Supplier. I don't know. Like, my ideal is open up on Leyline, play Shambling Ghast or Thoughtseize on 1, Phoenix Fleet Airship on 2, and just, like, crew kill you in a couple of combat steps. Like, that is the conceptual plan. What if I get rid of Overlord? I play Therapies. I take Barrowgoyf out. Now I can't mill over anything too crazy, and I play a couple Stitcher Suppliers, and we are really leaning on Phoenix Fleet Airship as the way that we kill. Or I guess the combo. Combo's just harder to assemble without Overlord and Barrowgoyf digging for the pieces. Airship? This is a hand that could absolutely do the Airship thing, but it does not have Leyline on the Void, so I probably mulligan it, unfortunately. Like, I can just die on turn 1 to a Dark Ritual hand, just like I did in game 1. Unfortunate. I will go to 5. On 5, I have a hand that can rip my opponent's hand apart. I think I just keep this and hope that I don't eat a turn 1. Verdant Catacombs comes down, and opponent passes the turn. That's great for me. So, I will Thoughtseize you. Oh god. So opponent has either blue mana or red mana, not both. I think I am taking Reanimate here as the most mana efficient thing, then passing the turn. So now I make my opponent choose between blue and black. Sorry, red and blue, potentially stranding one of these 2 cards in hand. Dark Ritual goes to the bin. Bloodstained Mire comes down. And now my opponent can still Dark Ritual into Animate Dead. Okay, that's nice. This means that I'm going to get to do Rhymes with Cabal Therapy and Phyrexian Tower. Do I want to use that this turn? I don't think I need to use that this turn. Alright, Cabal Therapy, target you. We'll name Animate Dead first. Nice. There's now 2 show and tells in hand. Get Swamp, play Gravecrawler, Ball Therapy, target you, sacrificing Gravecrawler, and just take out these show and tells. Will leave my opponent with only a Cabal Therapy. Bad news here is they get to Surveil land again, and they have a Faithless Looting that they can eventually flashback. I'm hoping to have Orcish Bowmasters in play by the time that happens, though. Alright, they keep their card on top. I'm guessing is... oh, not a land. Ooh. So, there's a Gravecrawler, which means I can cast this Gravecrawler from Graveyard, which means that at any point I can sacrifice a Gravecrawler to play Bowmasters. I don't need to do that immediately. I would love for Faithless Looting to go on the stack and then flash it in. It is a Surveil land instead. A land goes to Graveyard. Opponent is passing the turn. We'll sacrifice a Gravecrawler to do Bowmasters and ping your face. Opponent to 16. Another Bowmasters. So there's Gravecrawler. In for 4. After no blocks, sacrifice this Gravecrawler for a new Bowmasters. Ping your face and increment this Orc token by 1. Opponent to 10. Play back Gravecrawler. I'm kind of lucky that our opponent is stumbling here, as I'm probably not beating a show and tell creature here. Ball Therapy, targeting themselves. Thanks, I hate it. It is an Archon of Cruelty with a Reanimate. That one I might be able to beat. So I just sacrifice a Gravecrawler here. Ing face twice, and just have lethal on board. Alright, feels like we got a little lucky there. We got a match win. Shout out to my homie Leyline of the Void for getting me over the finish line in that other game. We are 1-1. My deck does not feel good. GG. Ooh, opponent has said that they don't miss any of my videos and that I'll love their deck, which is exciting. My opening hand can produce a very, very large amount of mana, but I don't think it actually does anything, so I'm going to mulligan it. Alright, turn 1, Shambling Ghast. Turn 2, have 4 mana, play double Bowmasters or Apprentice plus Bowmasters and keep Warren Soultrader to just be a Gravecrawler away from an infinite combo. In the context of Legacy, keeping 2 Bowmasters is probably better, but, let's try to have this deck do its combo thing at some point. Opponent is on 6 cards. Ancient Tomb? Chalice on 1. Infinite Combo Dreams are dead. I will play a land and pass the turn. Swamp Chalice of the Void. Alright. I do indeed love this deck. Extreme decks. Name earned. I don't want to play Urborg. I think I'm going to play Phyrexian Tower. And pass the turn. Next turn, my opponent gets to tutor for something. I think I just want to have Bowmasters available for if my opponent is playing the One Ring. Wasteland. I'll float a mana. Then Orcish Bowmasters. Ing face. Opponent to 15. Playing Chromox. Is that Sinkhole? That is Sinkhole. Okay. The One Ring still happens. I can't ping my opponent's face, but I can ping my Orc Army token. And the counter is on it by the time damage is checked, so this doesn't actually kill it. But my opponent gets to fog for a turn. No! No! Alright, I'm going to get a basic land here. Play a Marionette Apprentice, and I think I'm just going to go for the servo body here. And Profane Tutor happens, so it is very possible that my opponent has some shit in their game 1 deck, like Damnation, that they can tutor for. It absolutely 100% would not surprise me. In which case, at least I bleed them a little bit on the way out. So they'll take 2 off of Ancient Tomb. There's the Damnation. Alright, called shot. I'll deal them a little bit more damage. They are at 7, but can now safely draw with the One Ring. And make a land drop. That is a 1-drop that is currently dead. Opponent's life total is pretty low, but they have a lot of cards. Another Ancient Tomb. Oh fuck, I've played Urborg. No. I suspect that I have to play the Urborg, but it is saving my opponent a lot of life here. Unstoppable Slasher. Absolutely love that. So this is a Death Touch creature, so I can't successfully attack into it. I don't have mana for the airship. And my opponent naturally has Graveyard Hate for my infinite combo. Is not perfect for me. They do need to play another One Ring this turn, or like sacrifice it to a Beseech or something. Otherwise, they do die to their own card. Opponent has said well in chat, knowing that if they tap this, they die to Bowmaster. I don't have it. Now, did you draw a ring? Nope. Womp womp indeed. Got lucky. Okay, so I know that my opponent has the One Ring, which makes me like Disruptor Flute quite a bit. I also know that my opponent has Chalice of the Void, and I have 16 1-drops. So I probably don't want to board in Therapy. I know they have Douthie, which makes Fatal Push more interesting, and Barrowglyph is just kind of a chonker. I probably board down some 1-drops, and then, I don't know, maybe 2 Overlords? There's some possibility that my opponent boards in Leyline of the Void versus my nonsense. I don't know that I want to go any lower on 1-drops than I have, because at some point, I will draw a Phoenix Fleet Airship alongside a Phyrexian Tower and make some goddamn planes. Okay. Deck. You know what I fucking meant. You know what I meant. I have to mulligan this. We were so close. We were so close to glory. Yeah, this probably works out. I think I'm getting rid of the Gravecrawler? I think I'm getting rid of the Gravecrawler. Yep. Alright, we predicted that. Starting on 17, I legitimately don't know what 1 mana play they are going to have. Okay, yeah. As a Chalice of the Void deck, there's very few things that they're going to play. Oh, well, Gravecrawler came back. Barrowglyph, good magic card. Gravecrawler notably also does not block. So I'm eating 1 damage here, and Barrowglyph will start to spiral. There's a bunch of like different card types in my opponent's deck. I'm not expecting them to hit a creature on their average hit, but I am expecting them to grow Barrowglyph on the average hit there. Wasteland's a little inconvenient for me. Profane Tutor goes to exile. I think just stay on basics here. Send in for 2. Barrowglyph is currently a 2/3, but it becomes a 3/4. A creature goes to graveyard. Opponent also could wasteland their own land, which is probably a positive for me. Is my opponent playing spot removal? Probably not, but maybe? I think I'm going to go for removing the Goyf. I will ping, double block. There is removal. If my opponent... Oh, no, my creature is never going to graveyard. You need to think about that. Valmire comes down tapped. All right. Airship. In for 2. Phyrexian Tower. Sacrifice a Gravecrawler. Play the airship. Make an additional copy of the airship. Opponent can now Profane Tutor and get some bullshit like the One Ring, unfortunately. I guess Helm of Obedience is also a thing. Maybe I should not be F6ing this turn. There's a land drop. This is 5 mana, so if my opponent has Helm in their deck, I am dead to it right now. Otherwise, I am taking 3 from a Barrowglyph immediately. Alright, so multiple Sheoldred's Edicts confirmed. Alright, it is the One Ring, not Helm. So I guess that's fine. I get Wastelanded. I do have another Phyrexian Tower. That's not the end of the world. So I will fetch, surveil. That is another land for the purposes of the airship. Like I will have 4 of these, and then after I fetch, I will have 8 of these. I think I just keep that accordingly. And I think I'm just going to put this in play now. Ping a Barrowglyph, because I can't ping my opponent's face right now. I can't effectively attack with these because of the One Ring protection, but I sure do have 4 of them. My current plan is chump block Barrowglyph when it attacks, I think. And then I just fetch, have 8 of these, and win the following turn when I attack with all of them. I could also block Barrowglyph with 2 of these, and that is, like, not crazy either. Maybe I just do that. The lifelink is annoying. My opponent getting extra things is annoying. Alright. Through the second one. Go for the double block. I will lose both of these because Death Touch is a thing. Opponent goes up to 20. Opponent would like some cards. We'll send it face. But opponent got a couple Barrow-Goyf hits in because they played it on turn 1 off of Dark Ritual. So they're probably not in that bad of shape. I get wastelanded again. I am losing my Bowmasters. So I will fetch a new swamp. Through one of these. Send in for 4 rather than 3. And then make 2 more copies. Opponent is down to 10. They have Ancient Tomb and a 1 ring on 2 and are facing down at least 4 damage from me. This is the sort of stuff I wanted to be doing the whole league. And I just had not lined up Phoenix Fleet Airship with Phyrexian Tower and a creature to make it happen. Yeah, that's Helm. Helm kills me. If opponent had Helm in their deck, I don't know why they didn't tutor for it earlier and just kill me. I don't remember the exact spot. There might have been something that they were playing around. We will force a game 3. I already have Disruptor Flute in the deck, so that's great. My opponent is doing Leyline stuff, so I think I am more or less comfortable with how I have boarded. I could board in Feed the Swarm to technically answer the Leyline. I'm just not sure how much I care. I care more for Feed the Swarm to answer Barrow-Goyf. And so I might play that. Maybe if my opponent is Leylining, trim something like this. Could also keep that and get rid of 2 more Overlords. What if I do like this, 1 Cabal Therapy? Maybe 1 Stitcher Supplier. It's still just something I can sacrifice to Phyrexian Tower. I don't know, by playing more 1-drops, I'm worse versus Chalice. I just don't think I am hardcasting my 5-drop Overlord versus my opponent's Sinkhole Wasteland deck. Yeah, this is fine. This has more Fatal Push than I would like. It also doesn't really have any of the cool stuff I want my deck to do. Alright, my opponent has kept their 7, and they do have Leyline of the Void. They don't have much else going on, though. I will happily take their 1 ring. So if my opponent just plays a Boggart Trawler, I can do something like Fetch and Fatal Push that. Chrome Mox, I assume immediately is just going to put the Leyline of the Void under that, even if they don't cast anything this turn. Just play double Gravecrawler, overhold Fetch land for Fatal Push, I think. Yeah, I am trying to catch my opponent stumbling, and I have something crazy like 11 or 12 fetch lands in this deck, and I'll pass the turn there. Alright, there's an Edict. I mean, I'm perfectly happy for that to hit a Gravecrawler and not a Barrow-Goyf. So my opponent has 1 unknown card. There's the Boggart Trawler. You may exile my graveyard. I would be perfectly happy making this trade. Yeah. Ooh, nice. Alright, so now I just need to draw a land for a Barrow-Goyf. Oh, am I just gonna die to Helm? It's so unfortunate if that is the case. Alright! GG. Opponent's deck was indeed sweet, and I did enjoy it. We got to see a little bit of the Phoenix Fleet Airship do its thing, but I don't know if what we're doing is up to snuff by Legacy standards. GG. Alright. We have a Phyrexian Tower and a Phoenix Fleet Airship, and most of an infinite combo. This is a hand that has a lot of potential here. Swamp and Stitcher Supplier. Trigger. Double Gravecrawler. That's hot. Warren Soultrader, Marionette Apprentice, double Gravecrawler. Like all the potential is here. In for 1. Play a Gravecrawler from graveyard. Sacrifice a Gravecrawler. Go ahead and try to get Marionette Apprentice into play here. Pick up the extra body. Then I think next turn I just win, assuming no counter magic or whatever. There is a Brainstorm. My opponent has straight up conceded. Alright, I had an infinite combo on my turn 3 or 4. Yeah, my turn 3. I mean, I'll take that. That is the deck doing its thing. We unfortunately don't learn which deck my opponent is playing. Like, there's a very big difference between them playing Tempo and Doomsday and Reanimator here. That feels like a combo concession in for therapy into Disruptor Flute, question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, drop some top end for therapy, drop some Goyfs for Disruptor Flutes, keep all the fun jank. If this is actually Tempo, I am just going to eat shit for not having all of my removal spells and my Barrow-Goyfs and my Overlords. Yeah, this is fine. Like, I probably just Cabal Therapy Doomsday on turn 1. Verdant Catacombs. Cameo. Still kind of want a Cabal Therapy Doomsday. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I could just name I could name Brainstorm with this one, actually. For cameo flip reasons. Oop, what on earth has happened? Alright, hit. So the good news is my opponent has an awful lot of nothing going on. The bad news is they have an active Tameo that I don't have fatal pushes for. And my called shot of that being a combo hand was just wrong. Fetch. Swamp. Shambling Ghast, I think. Ball Therapy. Target you. Sacrificing Shambling Ghast. I would like the treasure token, please. That's how I'm going to get Phoenix Fleet Airship into play. We will name Murktide. Alright. Fatal push incoming. That's fine. Here is a Stitcher's Supplier. That's apparently good enough to crack the clue token. Sure. Alright. We've milled over one of our airships. I think I just pass the turn here, and then next turn I fetch and play the airship. Basic Island comes down, rather than Scalding Tarn, which is interesting. Are you just tapping out for a Barrogoyf here? Yeah. Alright. That's what makes that play make sense. I Phyrexian Tower and sacrifice my Stitcher's Supplier. Could have 5 mana this turn, and then play a Shambling Ghast to block Barrogoyf. I think I want to leave a zombie in play to repeatedly do Gravecrawler stuff, though. I think I'm not going to do that. There's Swamp, and there's the airship. I also could just block Barrogoyf with Stitcher's Supplier, and then I have 2 zombies this way. There's also lines where I just block a Tameo if my opponent attacks and doesn't realize my giant airships actually have flying. But now Fatal Push is online. Okay, so I need to click here. I will then go ahead and crew an airship. So Tameo can't attack. But my opponent could still smack me with Barrogoyf, which means her turn is still good. Yeah. I will take the hit. Like, I want these to self-spiral. I'm, like, probably legitimately trying to get to 8. My opponent finds another Goyf. An opponent can fetch, grab another Underground Sea, and play that. No, it is a Spell Bomb instead. Due to how priority passes are going to work, I'm not sure if that's actually relevant. I can play a Shambling Ghast, play a Gravecrawler. Opponent has used this opportunity to nuke my graveyard. I'm not sure that I understand. I'll then save this fetch land. I could Surveil with this fetch land. Surveil with this fetch land rather than Phyrexian Tower, sacrifice this, replay it immediately. Yeah, let's Surveil. Yeah. I do not need Cabal Therapy. I will send that to Graveyard. I can just immediately replay Gravecrawler, I guess. Sacrifice Gravecrawler to Cabal Therapy. Wait, I know that my opponent has another Goyf. I know that my opponent has another Goyf. Nice. Do still have another Tameo. I will recast this from Graveyard. This one can't block anyway. I maybe don't actually want to hit my opponent. I maybe want to have the possibility to crew both of these. Or, like, block with Shambling Ghast, crew Gravecrawler Tameo. Yeah, I think I don't. Make 2 more airships. Then next turn I Phyrexian Tower away a Gravecrawler, recast it. Also could attempt double block on Barrogoyf with 2 airships. Just attempt to prolong the game. This is going surprisingly well for just being sideboarded fully incorrectly. Our opponent went into the tank for a little while. This is where they have ended up. So Gravecrawler will absolutely crew this. Block Tameo. Opponent is drawing with a clue in response. Sure. I think I'm into block and not let my opponent connect here. Alright. I will choose a treasure token. Even if my Gravecrawler gets removed, I now have a permanent that I can sacrifice for the airship squad. Seems like opponent has a Murktide. Yep. 6/6 Murktide Regent. There's a Cabal Therapy. My opponent has left a Tameo in hand for me. I do appreciate. Hello? Nice. If I would like, I can now sacrifice Gravecrawler to take my opponent's Nethergoyf. I think I am on board with that idea. Yeah? Get out of there. Leaving my opponent with just a Misty Rainforest. I think I'll hold the Phyrexian Tower in hand. I don't think playing it out does anything. So now, I think I'm just going to always yield to these at this point. Now these are creatures. The thing is, as soon as I don't control 8 of them, they are not creatures again. So if I block with some of these, they are no longer creatures. Until I sacrifice a treasure token and turn them back into creatures and make a bunch more. There's the one card that we know about. Opponent can surveil. We'll see if they are attacking. If they don't attack, I just have 16 of these as of my end step. They go up to 29. Like, do I just let them hit? It kind of feels like I just let them hit. Make 16 of these and then I don't give a shit if they have a Tamiyo. Yeah, I think so. I'm at 9. Like, I don't need to worry about burn here. And I have an onboard way of guaranteeing that I can sacrifice a permanent. Yeah, like, enjoy your Tamiyo. What the fuck are you doing against 16 airboats? Alright. Here is Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler lets me cast Gravecrawler. Phyrexian Tower lets me sacrifice Gravecrawler to play Gravecrawler. I don't quite have lethal here through blockers. I think I will just not attack. And we go to end step. Boats! Good luck. If nothing else, this was a success. Opponent says, "Where are you, Toxic Deluge? GG." Hell yeah. That's a match win, right? Match win! Match win! Screenshot acquired. Phoenix Fleet Airship successful in Legacy. Alright. We are on the board. Alright. Opening hand for the final round is fine. Opponent has mulligan once. Hopefully a Thoughtseize punches a hole and gives me some time to assemble something reasonable here. Chalice on 1 is annoying. This is the thing that actually kills me. I have like 16 1-drops. I have a lot of 1-drops. I don't have removal, so if Eldrazi Linebreaker comes down, it is forever. Ditcher Supplier hitting a Gravecrawler would be pretty big, and assembling my combo would also be pretty big. I think I'm just going to die to Eldrazi Linebreaker. I'm going to take that. My opponent can resolve their Chalice on 1. Alright, Ancient Tomb comes down. There's Chalice of the Void. That is an annoying draw, but hopefully we can string something together off the other resources in this deck. Another Ancient Tomb, and an immediate Kozilek's Command. The other mode being scrying and drawing. Everything going to bottom. I have drawn another threat, which is fine. I will play what is an unimpressive body, but anything matters when my opponent just has double Ancient Tomb as their mana in play. I don't need to do all that much damage. There is a Reality Smasher. My opponent believes that they are the beatdown still, which I just think is wrong. They are at 9, I have 4 power in play. I think I am the beatdown. Like, this attack brings my opponent to 5. If they tap Ancient Tomb, this becomes lethal. I think that was Reality Smasher past the turn. I can choose to fetch here. I think I will to Surveil. And do Undercity Sewers. I do not need Marsh Flats. Phyrexian Tower is the correct name here. Like, knowing what is in my deck. That's certainly not what my opponent is going to name. Hit that heralds the end comes down. Alright, opponent is going to remain aggressive. I'm at 5. Need a reasonable draw. I do not get a reasonable draw. That is unfortunate. I just need something that can block Reality Smasher. My 1 toughness things just mean that I'm taking 4 from that and 2 from it that heralds the end. I'll pass turn and see how my opponent responds. Another land comes down. Oh, my opponent attacked in a way where I'm not dead. That's nice. Do unfortunately have to block with both to stay alive. And this doesn't trade. But I get another turn. I do not believe that I'm beating that. So I'm going to concede to that rather than give my opponent more information. Alright, we bottomed out. I just needed a little something else to get over the finish line there. GG. Let's get a couple extra Barrowgoyfs in here. Get a couple of removal spells in here. This is probably still worth doing even though it loses me life. I need to respect Chalice of the Void here. I'm not entirely convinced that I'm going to be at a higher life total than my opponent in terms of bleeding them out via this combo. I just trim one drop and call that good. I'm actually ending up higher on 1-drops, unfortunately, in the post-board configuration that I have here, because I'm boarding out 1-drop and in 2 fatal pushes. This is fine. I will fetch, grab a swamp, Thoughtseize my opponent. On a double Ancient Tomb opener. There's a bunch of annoying stuff here. My opponent doesn't have colored mana for exiling an enchantment that I play out. This is their only turn 1 play. This is the thing that slows them down the most in the short term. But like these 3 cards are so much more threatening in the long term. Especially this paired with this. I think I am just taking Thought-Knot Seer though. I don't really know how I win this matchup though. I'm not all that great at blocking. And I don't have all that much removal in the grand scheme of things either. So my rationale was it didn't work. I take Thought-Knot Seer, play Overlord, attempt to hit Barrowgoyf with it, and then play Barrowgoyf on my turn 3. That was my conceptual way to be likely to win this one. I will take 2 from it that heralds the end. The Swarm is not bad. We'll go ahead and do that on Glaring Fleshraker. Just get that out of there. And I will play this land tapped and save the life. I really just need to draw Barrowgoyf. This is not going to be a real consideration. I will be dead to Reality Smasher by the time this comes down. I take 8 of my 11 here. That card is not Barrowgoyf. I can play a Stitcher Supplier, sacrifice it, mill a bunch of cards, maybe hit some Gravecrawlers, but I'm just going to die to this Trample. Maybe I needed to mulligan my hand. Thoughtseize plus Overlord seemed like enough to be reasonable. We did put 2 wins on the board with this deck, but this did not feel good. GG. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I regret using a modern deck list as the starting point for this one. I think this one was a stinker. Like, the idea of doing this as a combo alongside Phoenix Fleet Airship, because this stuff wants you to sacrifice things as well, is totally fine. I wish that I had just played a, like, Moon Shadow, Bauble, Dark Ritual, Super Shredder deck with this, where this is the top end for the games where your initial threats don't get there. I do not believe in the entire league I ever lined up turn 2 Phoenix Fleet Airship by having Shambling Ghast, Phyrexian Tower, and Phoenix Fleet Airship at the same time. I don't think that happened once in 5 rounds. And, like, that's the strong thing that this deck can do. Maybe some of that is variance, but maybe some of that is just trying to naturally line up a 3-card combo. Even if you are playing 4 copies of all of them, it's not super likely to happen on turn 2. The Airship is cool once it gets going, but I think filling the deck with aggressive creatures and 8 Baubles and Dark Ritual is just a better way to play this than trying to fart around with this combo. So maybe the Phoenix Fleet Airship will ride again someday on this channel. It is very cool once it gets going. And the crew cost is incredibly low. I like that there is some play here versus, like, do I want to animate these and block something like a Barrowgoyf? Or do I just want to accrue copies? Like, I like that play pattern. I think that is interesting and enjoyable. I just don't think that what we were doing here today was particularly strong. It felt really inconsistent. And I think, like, the rock-solid consistency of just having 12-ish 1-drop aggressive black creatures and Super Shredder and Dark Ritual and, like, Thoughtseize, I think that and, like, 4 Barrowgoyfs and 4 Phoenix Fleet Airship as the top end, or maybe the Barrowgoyfs in the sideboard, is just better than what we did today. But I don't regret trying it. It was a cool idea. We did the thing once, and I'll take it. Well, we fully did the thing once. We got to 8 once, but we Made a couple of Phoenix Fleet Airships in other rounds. It just wasn't good enough. In a world where Tamiyo is everywhere and tempo decks are everywhere, it is probably just better to have some interaction rather than trying to be a combo deck of our own. We don't have the same consistency as other legacy combo decks. Regardless, I hope this was enjoyable. I did have fun playing it, and I hope you all have a great day. And remember, if you have anything you want to see on the channel, the donation deck list information is available in every single video description. Have a great day, folks. See ya!